Good morning, friends. Welcome to the Wednesday LiveStream from Dulcimer Crossing. You can see it looks a little bit different in here. I reorganized my whole studio for the Quarantine Dulcimer Festival that took place last weekend, and so far I'm not changing it. I like what I've been able to do in the space, and I don't feel as cramped as I did over there. And because I don't have physical students coming into my studio to teach, I don't have to keep the area open for students to sit on chairs and set up their instruments. So for at least a little bit, I'm going to keep things focused the way they are now. It was a wonderful festival. Dulcimer Crossing was pleased to be a sponsor. It had over 50 teachers this time, over 1,800 students. Way over 800 people purchased tickets to the concerts that took place on 4 different times. They were on Zoom. The Zoom concerts had the perfect feel. The sound quality, not so much. The video quality, not so much. But the experience of being a part of a community that is sharing music together, that was top notch. So that's one of those things. When you're a musician, you want it to look and sound the best. When you're an audience member, you want it to feel good. And balancing those two things is one of those things we have to do. We get to do. It's our exciting challenge. Well, today, what we're going to look at is the first 10 songs. What are the first 10 songs you learned to play or learned to sing? I'm asking this question for a couple of reasons. One is I want us to focus our attention on how do we help other people. So not just what are the first 10 songs that I learned or seek to learn, but what are the ones that we can recommend to other people and why? So that's what I want to spend our time talking about today. And you can interact in the chat here, or you can join me on Dulcimer Crossing, the Facebook page. Click on the videos. When you're there, you'll see a thing that says live, a red little light that says live. If you look at the video list on the side of the Dulcimer Crossing page, and you can click there. And you can comment there. So we are able to comment in a couple different places. So the first 10 songs, I want you to go back in your memory and think about the first songs you ever heard. What kind of songs were they? Were they educational songs? Were they playground songs? Were they play along songs? Were they parts of games? Nah, 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 nah. Was it being teased? Na 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 na, na 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 na. Hey, 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 we're number one. Related to sports, were they lullabies that you heard? One of the ones I heard was "You Are My Sunshine, My Only Sunshine." I'm asking people when they come to my studio to learn to play music, to access their earliest memories of music. And the reason I'm asking them to do that is when we're learning an instrument, it doesn't help us if we're learning new music at the same time we're learning new instrument. So one of the reasons I ask people to think back is because the music that they listen to, the music that they've known the longest, that they might not ever remember learning, which has made mental maps in their head. They know how it goes. They can sing it. They can hum it. Maybe they can only sing it in the shower because they're anxious about the sound of their voice. But they are able to be a part of that music, and that means they have avenues in. When we're learning a new instrument, then all we have to figure out is how do we make these tones on this instrument instead of I found these tones in the instrument, how do they relate to the music I know? I think this is critically important because for the first 3 years, I built my mountain dulcimer in 40 years ago. And for the first 3 years, I found books that had numbers in them. I played a lot of other music on other instruments. In order, I learned to sing, and then piano, and then trumpet, and then harmonica, and then guitar, and then mandolin, then mountain dulcimer, and hammered dulcimer, and then many other things after that. So I knew a lot about different instruments and how to make the tones on the different instruments. I could accompany myself and sing along. But what I couldn't do on the dulcimer, and this was the mountain dulcimer first, was play music. And what I meant by that was I couldn't play the music I already knew. I could play the things in books. I could play the numbers that were written that told me where to put my fingers on the frets. But I couldn't play music. And I tried. I built it in Ohio. I moved to Michigan. I moved to Illinois. I moved to Colorado. And over that time period, I tried in every place to play, and I tried to compose. It was the mountain dulcimer, so I tried a lot of tunings. I kept playing all the other instruments I played, but I struggled with the mountain dulcimer because it wasn't like regular music, which is what my buddy had told me when I saw the first one I'd ever seen, which was the one that his brother and father had made for him as a Christmas gift. Mike Barth and I were fraternity brothers. We also sang together in the men's glee club at Capital University. He played banjo and guitar. I played guitar and mandolin. So we were a fake hillbilly duo to play music at college and just had a good time together. He came back Christmas time and he had this long, slender, beautiful instrument. I said, "What is it?" He said, "It's a dulcimer." I said, "How do you play it?" He says, "You can't." I said, "What?" Has strings and everything. He says, "It's not like regular music." And we tried to work it into our act, and I was never able to do it. And that bothered me. So that was the seed that got in my soil, or it was the bird that sat under my saddle. And it kept me wondering. And when I saw that there was a possibility to buy a folk roots kit, folk roots at that time was made out here in California, in the Santa Cruz Mountains, in Felton, I think, which is where the fires have just recently been in California. We're still kind of smoky today. It's been a couple of weeks. But what the kit did was tell me how to put it together and how to build it. Handwritten instructions. It was really fun. I didn't have many tools. I was building it in the living room on the coffee table I had three. This was between one of my years in college, and I was living with three guys, and we all worked in the same remodeling company. And so I remodeled this piece of wood into a dulcimer. And then I tried to figure out how to play it. And there wasn't an internet. There were some books, but I didn't know where to find them. There was a Dulcimer Players News magazine. I didn't know that it existed or where to find it for another 3 years. So I tried to figure it out as best I could. I went to the library and checked out their whole collection on dulcimers. There was one book, and I wasn't. Half of it was right, and I couldn't tell which half. So that was my struggle and plan or way through. But what I tried to do then was figure out some things by ear, which is actually the first way any of us learn music. For the first 5 years of our life, we learn everything we learn by ear. We imitate sounds, we learn language. So it's a skill that we all have. We just need to recover. And making the connections between what was on the instrument and what was in my head, that was difficult. That leads me to the first 10 songs. What would be songs that I would play first? Well, what do I know first? Right now, I cannot remember the first song that I played and felt good about on the dulcimer. I know that I have sung Mein Hut it hat Recken, Go Tell Aunt Rhody, Jesus Loves Me, Swing Low Sweet Chariot, I Want to Sing, 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 I'm going to sing when the Spirit says sing. I grew up in the church, so a lot of the music that I had that was live in me was church music, Sunday school songs, hymns, anthems. I had music that we listened to on LPs, Puff the Magic Dragon. I remember sitting and crying with that one. Poor Puff when Jackie Paper left him alone. Um, my mom said, I don't think you need to listen to this anymore. I thought, Mother, you don't understand me. Oh, a lot of things happened when I was 5. I'm just remembering all those things right now. Inchworm was one of those ones on that album. I don't remember what the album was. It's a big LP. And for some reason, I was allowed to play it. We had a hi-fi with a big record. I wonder, I can't remember if mom or dad showed me how to do that. Anyway, those are the tunes that were in me that were accessible. So the first tunes that I always suggest that people learn when they're learning a new instrument or any kind of an instrument are the ones that they've known the longest. So I ask them to make a list. What are the tunes you've known since you were knee-high to a grasshopper? What are the ones you've known the longest? Because those are the ones that you're likely able to uncover and play on your instrument. And when you do, hopefully it won't have taken 3 years like it took me. I still remember the afternoon. I lived in an apartment that faced the foothills I lived in West Denver on a 6th floor apartment that had an unobstructed view from my balcony of the foothills of Golden and Denver, West Denver, the Rocky Mountains. And it was a Sunday afternoon, late September, early October. It was autumn. And I didn't have a television. If I'd had it, I probably would have been watching a football game or something like that. But I didn't have a television. And so what I did was play music. And I played all the instruments I had. And I had a mountain dulcimer. And as I was sitting at my kitchen table, now the thing is, my kitchen table was in my living room because it was a 2-bedroom apartment. And so it had a little bit of kitchen, a little bit of bathroom, 2 bedrooms, and then one big room, which was kitchen, dining room, etc., living room. Sitting there, sun was coming in on the side on the afternoon. It was a beautiful, illumination of the foothills and the Rockies. And all of a sudden, I say the scales fell from my eyes into my fingers, and I could play. And I could play the music. I could play music I knew. I could play music on paper that didn't have tablature. I could play the music from Gene Ritchie's Celebration of Life book that I don't even remember when I found that. I think I might have found it in the same store in Ohio that is where I got my kit. What was the music store's name? I can't remember the name of it. It was on High Street, right across the street from Ohio State University, and a wonderful vegetarian restaurant. I did meet the owner, one of the co-owners of that store later. He's now the folklorist at the John C. Campbell School in Brasstown, North Carolina. We reminisced. Anyway, so I had this book. I'd carried it with me, and I'd tried to play. I could never figure it out. On that afternoon, I could. And then I could go back and look at the books that had the numbers on them and say, oh, yeah, here's what's going on. And at the time, a lot of books were written that didn't have even musical notation. They just had pictures of fretboards with tablature, or they just had numbers and lyrics. And for someone who did read music, that was a limit to me because I didn't know how long to hold anything. Musical notation tells me time value. It also gives me a visual representation of up and down. And let me just quick check my test here, or my speed, because I'm getting a notification. So my download speed is going pretty fast, but my upload speed may not be so good. Well, it's not bad. It's not the worst. So that's good. So what are 10 songs and why? So the first thing is the oldest ones. So I'm adding this in both places that we can see this. The diatonic scales fell, exactly. So I used to be sad. I'm a melancholy child. I was drawn to Go Tell Aunt Rhody. That poor Go Tell Aunt Rhody, the old gray goose is dead. She died on the mill pond, a standing on her head. The ganders are weeping, the goslings are wailing. I loved that song as a child. I don't know why. It's a dark song. It's like a lot of folk songs written about pain and suffering, and I loved it. So that's one of the ones I played on the dulcimer. I didn't grow up singing Boilin' Cabbage Down or Bilin' Cabbage Down, but when I had a chance to teach at a senior citizen center in Colorado, I had a bunch of cardboard instruments and I had done a concert, and the activities director asked me if I'd come and do some regular weekly lessons use on the mountain dulcimer, and I had these cardboard dulcimers. I went there, and one of the women, when I started playing that, she was in her 80s, and she lit up like a light bulb and said, I used to sing this one when I was a child. And she was strumming along, boiling cabbage down makes no difference what the meat, just boiling cabbage down. I'd never heard that verse. She was from Virginia originally, so that was part of her growing up, and it was so exciting for her to play the music that was in her. The thing that constantly touches me, I recently not, and I'm grateful, but I've had several students in my career of guiding and walking along with people on their musical journeys who are survivors of abusive piano lessons. Now, when I took piano lessons, they wanted us not to look at our fingers. They wanted us to look at the music. And that's why when I begged to take lessons when I was 5, I told you a lot of things happened when I was 5. They made me wait until I was 6 so that I'd had a year in school and had begun to read words on paper, because that's that thing that happens. We get to a certain age. Actually, there are some places in Africa I've read that when a child can reach over the top of their head and touch their ear, which is a developmental sign about how long their arms are compared to the size of their head, that's when it's time for them to start going to school and learning in whatever traditional or formal way that happens. Well, in music, understanding at the time was, because I begged, we had a piano at home and I wanted to learn how to play it. Mom asked the teachers in town and they said, wait till first grade, so that I would have some understanding about the abstractness of reading what was on a page, because we need that as a skill for learning music. Obviously, these were not people who taught by ear. They were people who taught by sight. And there were all kinds of rules. You know, the magic of the fingers is you have 5 different lengths of things on the digits on your hand. But if you go like this, all the fingers are magically the same length. And so no one told me that. They didn't tell me about magic. I might have been excited about magic, but we had to hold a bubble or an egg. I thought that was the craziest thing, to hold an egg. Why am I going to hold my egg in my hand while I'm playing the piano? Because I could drop it. It would make a mess. You know, it's just, why do I remember that? But if you have your fingers so I'm learning all these kind of things, the mechanics of making the sound. But then I was not making a connection with the sound here and the music that I wanted to play. Why did I want to play the music? I wanted to play the songs I knew. Almost everyone wants to play the songs they know. So that's the first criterion for what are the songs that I'm going to play. What are the ones I'm going to learn? The first ones. I'm going to learn the ones I know. But then they wouldn't let me look at my fingers. And sometimes she would take the book and put it over my hands and say, look at the music. And I was like, I don't know where my fingers are going to be. She goes, they're not moving your hand. They're going to be there. But I wanted to have the reinforcement of looking. When I'm teaching people guitar, they often have the same challenge. because the guitar is facing away from your body. And so they're tipping the guitar like this so they can see what their fingers are doing, and then they can't reach the strings. And because they're tipping it, their fingers are touching strings they didn't intend to touch. And so one of the things I encourage them to do is look in a mirror. Go find a bathroom or a dresser, someplace that has a mirror, so that you can look at what's going on with your fingers while still having the guitar in good position. Because the visual is a good reinforcement. The problem, however, is if you're only looking here, you never make connection with what's going on in there. And the abuse of piano lessons that I've experienced people telling me about are the ones where when they look down, their teacher hit them with a ruler. That's awful. Why would I ever want to go to a lesson where somebody's going to hit me? But that happened. The amazing resilience of the human spirit, however, is I've had these same people. They were abused as children trying to play music. They went through a life in school. They found a partner. They settled down. They got a career. They raised a family. The family, grew up and went on. And now here they are wanting to take music lessons, sometimes in retirement. And they're still at it, even though they have this abusive past. They know music is in them, and they know they want to play it. They want to share it. They want to experience it. The resilience of the human spirit is so strong that they say, I've got music in me and I'm going to do it. They're going to survive whatever that bad experience was, and the longing has been in them the whole time. That almost always makes me cry when people tell me those stories. Cry with gratitude and with pain for their little one. Oh, maybe you want to read my shirt. I love this shirt. So I lost my train of thought there for a minute. So they want to learn, they come back and they want to learn. So I want them to play the songs they've known the longest. But that's only the first kind of, let's go there first. The next list can be aspirational. And that's the list of, this is something I want to play. Let's see. So I've heard this piece of music and I love how it sounds. I would love to be able to produce that sound. This one is huge. It's the draw in. I want to be a part of this. I want to be on the inside of this. And for me, the most wonderful experience I ever have is being so caught up in the music that I'm not even aware of what else is going on around me. Now, I was mixing a piece of music yesterday, a song that I wrote many years ago, and in this quarantine time, I've invited friends to record their parts and share them with me. And the last one got here yesterday. And so I've been sitting here with my mixing software and putting the pieces together and just getting delighted. And my wife will come in, and because I've got headphones on so that I can hear all the parts and make my decisions about what's going where. And I had the volume up a little bit because I was really into it and I was in the zone. And then all of a sudden there's this person standing here and I'm jumping like this. What is going on? And it happened 4 times. It's like, It gives my heart a little bit of a test. That would be a stress test, I think. But I want to be inside the music. And actually, one of the times I'm happiest is when I'm recording, because with the headphones on and the music that I'm playing going through the microphone into the recording capturing place, but also giving me a feed It's like I hear my instruments the best that I ever hear them, because the microphones can be so sensitive. It's like they're picking up what's inside. It's like I'm inside my guitar. I'm inside my dulcimers. I'm inside my mandolin. It's not much like it. I like it a lot. And so I was in that place, and that's what I want to create. That's where I feel the most alive sometimes. Now, you may not have the recording experience. You may want the recording experience. You may dread the recording experience, but it's a piece of this is what I want. I have a hunger for this. So the first list is, what are the oldest ones I know? What are the aspirational ones? I have a hope I have something like this. Then there are ones that are technical. They may still be aspirational, but the kind of things that are like, can I do this? And I learn a technique as a result of playing this. So I teach. This was one of the workshops I did for the festival. It's called Hammer Dulcimer Joy. And what happens when you do that? So we take Ode to Joy, the Hammer Dulcimer tune, Beethoven's symphonic tune, and make it a hammer dulcimer exercise, 30 different variations of how to explore that. Very technical. It's taking exercises that give us skills as players, give us accuracy, develop hand independence, explore some arranging possibilities. Like that one was the Dorian version, hearing the same melody in a different location with a different set of accompaniment, which is actually Beethoven's process. It's how he did a lot of what he did by doing variations of different things. And that gave him ideas that ended up in his symphonies and his other works. So using something like that helps you develop some technical skills is another list of songs. But then there's this other ones. And this one's kind of interesting. It relates to the oldest ones I know, but those I tend to think about as foundational songs that we were taught in the womb, at the breast, in the pew, on the playground, the ones that were new and we were attracted to them because or they were just given to us and we don't even know where they came from. And how did I learn Stephen Foster's Old Black Joe, a minstrel tune? At this particular time, minstrel music is under a big microscope. Stephen Foster was the first songwriter who was widely known in the United States, someone who made his living from writing music. That was a rare thing. He wanted to write parlor music. There's a wonderful biography Doodah that I picked up from. Now I've got to hold on. There we go. Got to add a couple things. There we go. And I'm just copying in both places that it's possible to chat. And it uncovers the roots and all that kind of stuff. It's not a simple thing. The minstrel shows were the first mass media of the United States. Broadsheets were very popular before that, but this was the first kind of take the show and send it on the road, and everybody sees the same thing. It was built on the broadsheets and then led to publishing and Tin Pan Alley and all that kind of stuff that became popular music. But in the 1800s, it was the culture that got spread. It was also racist. We just have to tell the truth about that. Anyway, here I am, a child in the first house that I grew up in, sitting there thinking about this, developing compassion for someone I'd never met. I didn't know any black people. I didn't know any slaves. And I'm singing the song, feeling sad for old Black Joe. And when I learned to play a harmonica, that's definitely one of the songs I wanted to play, because it felt like it had that same feel with it. So it was leading me in that direction. But that gets me to, I was telling you, the melancholiness of my growing up and how I'm led toward and attracted to those kind of tunes. The teacher would say that major songs are happy and minor songs are sad. And all I knew was that minor songs made me happier. They matched my interior mood. They also were hauntingly beautiful in a way that the major ones were not. So that leads me to, let me do a quick thing. David Brose at the John C. Campbell School is the folklorist that I mentioned before. And the first time I got to be there to teach, it's a wonderful place for workshops. They have some of the best food you're going to find anywhere at a festival. It's John C. Campbell is one of the, it's based on the Danish folk schools movement that was popular at the turn of the 1900s, that century, where there really aren't teachers. It's everybody's a learner and everybody's a teacher. So when you are a teacher at the folk school, you get credits to learn something else. You can come back in the next year and take one of the other classes that has your interest. I mean, as a teacher, I still got paid, or I would not have been able to go there and do that and lead the music for a week. But one of the things that happened, I think it was Thursday. So everybody arrives on Sunday, and the workshops for the weekly workshops go through Friday noon. And on Thursday morning, David Brose met us for an early morning thing about folklore and folk music. And he talked us through, and it was this wonderful eye-opening experience for me, who felt like he had been immersed in folk music forever. And I was waiting for him to tell me the stories about the songs that came from 1546 and earlier, and how they came from England, like Greensleeves, and came down in different modal. I was waiting for this kind of discussion. That's not what he did. He got a guitar and he started playing. He talked a bit about folk music, and then he got his guitar and he sat there and he played Dream, 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 Dream. And he wasn't done with the first dream before the whole room was singing with him. And we went through the whole song. When I want you in my arms, and he goes through the whole song. And if you don't remember all the words, you remember the charms, it rhymes. And he says, I want you, all I have to do is dream. problem is, gee whiz, I'm dreaming my life away. Dream. And, we got into it and we're all singing. We're so happy. And he looked at us and he says, how did you learn that song? Did you read it out of a book? Did you try to figure out tablature for your guitar? How did you learn that song? And everybody's trying to remember, how did I learn that song? We learned it by the folk process. We learned it by osmosis. We learned it by hearing it. We learned it by absorbing it. Now, the vehicle for those of us who know that song was the radio, because that was the way to get music. It was a way that once you paid your $15, which was a princely sum, and put the little earplug for your AM transistor radio, you could carry it with you. I won one as a prize for selling things door to door in my little town. And that was a big deal. It had a cord. It had a little thing you could put the cord in, and it had batteries also. That was a big deal. I wasn't tethered to the house. I could take my music with me. But the music that was played on that got played over and over and over again, that became popular music, became the folk music. It became the music that I can play. So what he was trying to help us see was the music that we had absorbed in this folk way was the music that is us. It's not outside stuff. It's a part of us. So that's why I'm saying, when we're talking about the first 10 songs to try to play on your instrument, songs that are the oldest ones it's the same process as number 4, actually, but it's the ones that you think of that you might not even call real music because it's playground things. It may be just little ditties. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Of course, those are fun, involved songs. There was a farmer had a dog, and Bingo was his John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt. I forgot all about Cub Scout songs. We sang a bunch of songs in Scouts. But those would be in the category of the oldest ones I know. The aspirational ones that inspire me, the ones that draw me to them and say, I want to learn how to do this, those are the next ones. The ones that give me technical skill, the ones that require me to learn new things in order to play them. And then the songs and tunes that are you, which maybe not the oldest ones that you know, but they're the ones that you resonate with. They're the ones that seeped in through the cracks and helped shape who you have become. That's the list that I would use when choosing my first 10 songs and suggesting to others the tunes that they want to learn. I wonder if you'd be willing to share this. This will be live on Facebook, on our Facebook page. I wonder if you'd be willing to share a couple of titles of tunes that are the ones that are foundational for you. I'm going to start off. Time in a Bottle. That was a tune by Jim Croce that was charting when he and Maurice Plane went down in Louisiana in 1973. That went down on Tuesday. On Friday, I got bit by the guitar bug, and that's one of the reasons I play. It's not the only one. Rocky Mountain High, Sunshine on My Shoulders, John Denver tunes. Some of these became the aspirational ones, and some were the technical ones. Longer by Fogelberg. John Michael Talbot. Had some wonderful. He was the first person that I put on headphones and cranked up the LP and tried to play along with in my college dormitory. So we can make lists of artists. We can make lists of, oh man, I remember Carl Dittman from my hometown. He played basketball. He is someone who had lost part of, I think it was his right hand in a farming accident. He lived on a farm and he lost 2 fingers. So he had what he called the claw. He had his thumb and 2 fingers on this side, and he played guitar completely by ear. He was not in band or anything like that, but and he played electric guitar, and he would hold the pick in this hand or do 2-finger banjo picking, and he would figure out things. And I know he was working on Aerosmith and things like that. Peter Frampton, Heart, Dreamboat Annie, Crazy on You. Just make your list of the songs that are the ones that inspire you or lead you to play, and then see if you can figure out how to do it. On Dulcimer Crossing, we have a whole, let me share my screen. A couple of things I want to tell you about that. I'm going to come to the second one in just a minute. But here on Dulcimer Crossing, we have redesigned, Linda, my partner, has redesigned the front page. So it looks a little different. So come on by and check it out, dulcimercrossing.com. You can find the lessons you want to study by instrument. You can do it by skill levels. You can follow your favorite teacher. And these all go to the list of all the lessons that we have from them. So here are the 3 that we have right now from Karen Mueller. Here's the live stream for today. Here are some upcoming, and these are all online festivals. And then the trending lessons. What do we have that's happening here? We have the Leap Forward. This is going to be with the series we're going through this whole year on better understanding our music, developing our music understanding. Karen Ashbrook will be with us in the end of September to talk about Dorian Mode, the folk minor, and then describing everything. So everything looks different. Come by and take a look. Now this is on the front. In the back of what's going on Dulcimer Crossing, we're doing a significant overhaul of what's happening in behind the scenes, because one of the things that people are asking for is better guidance from one lesson to the next. So I just want to plant that seed. That's one of the things we're working on right now. And now I wanted to go to, let's see if it's in the Mountain Dulcimer Skills section. Well, we have genres, bluegrass and blues and Celtic. And traditional noter style. That's not what I was thinking of, so I'm going to go back. When things get changed like this, sometimes I can't find everything that I'm looking for, which is the experience you might have had too. So these are alphabetical. This list is alphabetical, by the way. This is the traditional way we've looked at things, so that's where I'm going to go, because I want to find... Well, now I can't find what I'm looking for. Maybe you have this experience too. So let me go back a couple. It's going slow. This is why we're doing the work in the background. Classic rock licks. There we go. There is Talon. In the classic rock licks, what we're doing is using the mountain dulcimer to the way it's laid out to help us teach these tunes. And I'm using tunes that I grew up hearing. Let's see what happens here. The way it's laid out to help us tunes, and I'm using tunes that I grew up crossing,
and I want to do some exploration here. What
this might come up in as a
sometimes
echo
called
thing.
Half the frets and half the strings, but all the music. I want to thank Joe Collins for that quote. I think it's a really powerful quote. We don't have a chromatic fret pattern on our dulcimer, and we only have 3 strings. Guitars have 6 strings. You'll notice that my dulcimer has.
This isn't going to work because we're hearing we're hearing 2 versions of it. We're hearing it in real time. We're hearing it on Facebook at the same time. But you can take a look at that lesson there. This is the front-facing page of what's going on, and I'm looking at these different examples of these different rock and roll examples that we can learn the dulcimer by doing the music that is us and do it there. So let me just ask before we leave today, if there's anything else that you want to talk about and address with this idea of what are the 10 songs, or if you have a list of 10 of songs that you learned first or you would like to learn. And like I said, after this is archived, you can still interact with it by adding your list here. So I'm going to call this your assignment. As we move into the fall season, we have another week when it's going to be like this schedule, and then starting on the 16th, I will begin teaching my Music Together classes that start at 9, and so I'm going to have to end this a little bit earlier. So the live stream on Wednesdays will not go. I've right now blocked out an entire hour, and for the fall season, I get to teach more Music Together classes with preschool kids, so I'm happy about that. It'll be Zoom, so I don't have to go far, but it also means that I have to stop what I'm doing to get ready for those classes and have my studio ready to go here. So I want to thank you for your attention today and joining me, and for following what's going on in Dulcimer Crossing. And we want this to be the best service that it can be to help you play the music you want to and bridge the gap between what's our tagline? I can't even remember it. Bridging the gap between what you know and where you want your music to grow. Music to go. So thank you, and I will see you next week with another topic that I'm not going to tell you what it is yet. Bye.